I am too smart. I am too smart. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-R-T.
So I'm listening to this book about elementals, and it gets into the fire elementals, and it says that it's going into saying about what they can do with thought forms that we have, because apparently they burn them up like old thought forms. So this is a good idea. This is going to be helpful in ridding some of the bullshit.
Thought has a tremendous power of remaining. It can remain as a thought form. Wherever you have got strife on the earth, you will get thought forms being attracted and helping to fan the flames, to build it up. One of the functions of the fire spirits is to clean away these wrong thought forms. These thought forms make up part of the etheric shell of the earth. Fire spirits can purify this. They can disperse wrong thought forms, and therefore their help would be very, very useful. The question of evil. Rock. I said I believed the elementals were part of the angelic hierarchy. Some people have often said, and this is something I have to touch on, that there are no bad nature spirits, there are no evil beings. But of course there are. I do not class them as true elementals, but they exist. There are several kinds. Again, we have the possibility of humanity building up thought forms. We may do it by simply thinking evil thoughts. We could also do it, I believe, by writing. We could create such things as vampires, thought forms which could be activated by some sort of negative energy, and then you would get black goblins. I know this because I have seen them. I have on several occasions had to deal with them. I've been in places where there is a terrible feeling of darkness, where the nature spirits, I will call them, that are of this black nature. In one garden I visited, the owner said, "I'd like you to have a look at this apple tree because I'm not happy about it. I get a horrible feeling from it." As soon as I approached the tree, I saw black beings working round the base of the trunk. This tree was evil. The lady asked me, "What am I to do? Shall I get it cut down?" I said yes. Her idea was that it would be best burned, but a local woodcarver asked her if he might have the wood of the trunk of the tree in order to make carvings out of it. She was very worried about this. However, she decided to let him have it. He was unable to use the wood because the tree had long nails driven into it all down the trunk. There was an old custom, which belongs to witchcraft, of driving a nail into a tree with a curse on it, with a name attached to the nail, and this was apparently what had happened in the case of this tree. This would explain why there was darkness there. So Satayan places have such beings that need to be cleansed, though they are not lost beings because something interesting can happen. One of the rivers at Randolph Sleep, the Divvy, was oddly enough on the dark side. The river Findhorn was a place of light, but the Divvy was a place of strange darkness. Apparently, a long time ago, the area was inhabited by people who were nature lovers, and lived in huts and caves. Then a tribe came along who were not good and killed them all. This tribe went in for human sacrifices which they flung over into the Divvy. This gave it its bad character, and on many occasions I was aware of very nasty black beings crawling about on the river bank. One time when I was visiting there I was inspired. I was directed from within to carry out a form of exorcism to try to get rid of them, and disperse them, in which they were given a choice of either coming over to the light or being banished to outer darkness. This had to be done several times, and apparently it was effective because the dark has gone from that side. Not long ago I went to Randolph Sleep, and walking up the path in front of me by the side of the Divvy were 3 very beautiful green elves. When we got to the top, I realized those were 3 of the dark goblins who had chosen to come over to the light, and had been transmuted. So this can happen. I have said that it is the fairy stories, the legends, that have given the elemental beings the form in which they appear. Incidentally, the same goes for the Greek and Norse gods. They actually can appear. We can, if you like, regard those elementals as forces, energies, because that is what they are. So, just as the particles forming the atom may not be matter at all, but consist of whirls of energy, these beings are really energy, an intelligent energy, WHXCAN become personalized. The great modern myth is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. It is my belief that because this book is so popular and is being read so much, we will begin to get some elementals taking on the forms in Tolkien's book. In fact, the elves I'm seeing nowadays are remarkably like those of Tolkien. Now this could be because reading Tolkien has produced a picture in my mind, and I am projecting a form and therefore they appear to me like that. I have been told these beings will appear to people very much as a person expects to see them. If a person expects to see an angel in long white robes with wings, wearing a halo and carrying a harp, then that is how he will see it. I probably have remains of fairy tales from youth that might govern the way I see these beings. Meeting nature spirits. Rock. Over the years, many people asked Rock how he came to see nature spirits. Ryan Nobbs remembers Rock telling him, "It seems to be necessary to have reached some level of cosmic consciousness before you can experience nature spirits directly. While this may seem very complex, Rock seems to suggest it need not be so that it is dependent on opening up to nature yth love, discernment and respect as far as his own story is concerned. Rock discovered that the seeds of his remarkable experiences were clearly sown in early childhood. On one of my visits to Findhorn, I went with Paul Hawken to Rosemarkie, a little seaside town on the north shore of the Murray Firth. I had been taken there by my parents during the Easter vacation in 1903 when I was approaching my 4th birthday. There was an enchanting place there known as the Fairy Glen which I loved and was taken to several times. It was then part of a large estate and was well preserved. I have always had vivid memories of those early visits, of a waterfall with 2 streams of water, a flight of earthen steps, a bridge over a stream, and above all a wishing well under an overhanging rock with a pebbly bottom into which I used to drop a penny while making a wish. The estate was broken up a long time ago and the glen has gone wild and natural. The trees are of course different since that visit 70 years ago. They're new trees that have grown up since then. Some stumps remain of much older ones. Paul and I went right up to the head of the glen where we found the bridge over the stream and the new flight of steps, which were built fairly recently. I found where the wishing well had been under the overhanging rock. It was now completely filled in. And we came upon the waterfall, splashing down into a rocky pool. It was a lovely day and we sat on rocks, looking at the falling water and enjoying the feel of the place. Suddenly 3 little gnomes appeared on a flat rock in front of me. "My, you have grown up," said one of them. "What do you mean?" "We remember a little boy coming here long ago in your time," piped in the second gnome. "Aren't you glad your wish was granted?" asked the third. "What wish?" "Don't you remember dropping a penny in the wishing well and wishing you could see fairies and talk with them?" the first gnome asked. "And bubbles rose from the pebbles at the bottom of the well, which meant that your wish would be granted," added the second. "I certainly did drop pennies in the well and made wishes. I cannot say I remember that specific one, but it is very likely true, as I believed in fairies then as I do once more today. So that could be how it all began and why it happened to me." To anyone who may have expressed a wish to see and talk to nature spirits, whether or not they dropped a penny into a wishing well, remember it took 63 years for my wish to be granted, so don't lose hope. The end. If Merlin's owl lighted on his shoulder, you would hardly be surprised.